Everything you've ever done in your life, ever thought in your life, ever taken part in, ever had a feeling about, every single thing you've ever done has been nothing but your own perspective. Let's back it out a little bit. Let's look at all of humanity. What do we got? A few billion people or something like that, some ridiculous number of people. All of these different cultures and families and way of being and everything, people that are so polar opposite to you than you that you wouldn't understand their way of living. That non-understanding is your perspective. The way that you view the world, the way that you have been culturally conditioned to see things. This is why we end up in a lot of fights in society. This is why we end up in wars. Oh, I have this perspective, you have that perspective. Let's go be cavemen, and if we can't slap each other to death with our dicks, we're gonna kill each other. It's like, that's perspective for you. So every single one of us is operating with our own view and our own perspective. So if our life around us is hell, well, that's because our perspective is hell. Now, that hell may have been built up by a lot of experiences, and those experiences are what gave you the perspective that life is hell. All of those painful experiences are your perspective. All of the traumas that you've been through and the painful things in your life have built the memory structure to give you the perspective. That is the way that you feel about life. So when you feel like it's going to be hell, and you see this sign here or this church here, and you say, oh man, this must be hell in there. It feels like hell. Now that's your perspective, just like everybody else. And you see people walking around with, a smile on their face and joy in their heart. And well, that's their perspective. That's their life experience. And now everybody can change perspective. That's easy enough. The problem is it's hard to change the concept of perception when you're still feeling the feelings of perception. So that perception does not just go into a conceptual space of, oh, I perceive this to be this and that. It is so much more than that. It's 90% more than that, because those conscious thoughts are about 10% of your brain waves, your conscious idea of perspective. All of the 90% subconscious arena is how you feel about it. So the conditioning created how you feel about life, which creates your perspective to go through life. This is exactly why we have things like anxiety. Exactly why we have things like depression. Because of the perspective. Life is hell in this moment, when life is exactly as it is in the moment. Complete, harmonious perfection. You're the only one with the perspective that it is not in perfection, simply because your cultural values, your worldview. If you were to look outside of your cultural values and your worldview, and you were to relax all of those personal dogmas and all those demands that everybody else validate your perspective just so you can be okay, it's like, feel free to have your own opinion. But anytime you got the demands that somebody else has to do it this way or that way, or I'm offended, you're living in your own hell. That's your perspective. You're the one doing that to yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. In fact, those people don't give a shit. In fact, all of those people that are polar contrast to you and opposite of you, the second you open your mouth with anything of theirs, it's so far off that it'll just start a fight. And that's just everybody's perspective. So you are perfectly capable of living your life in a meaningful way. You are perfectly capable of healing through your traumas and your dysregulated states. If you need help with that, that is the work that I do. I love this stuff. I will help you change your feeling perspective. All my clients walk right out of it, and it's a beautiful thing. You can go to other means to change it. Go to a talk therapist. Read some books. What was it? Not Jen Shapiro. She did You Are a Badass. Who did the book How to Do the Work? That book's genius. Great book. There's a lot of books out there about changing perspective, how to do the work. Look that one up. There's a lot of ways to do it. Get in a different group of friends. Oh, my friends are all kind of shit. God, these guys are assholes. This must be creating my perspective on the world. Oh man, I'm eating like shit. And when I eat like shit, I realize I'm feeling like shit. I have a feeling perspective of feeling like shit as I move through the world. It is so much more than just the conceptual understanding of perspective. It's the entire experience of perspective, how you feel the world works, not necessarily how you think the world works. And to move into your own space of bliss and to move out of that hell is to move into a perspective of acceptance, which is love. Which is to say, I see this. I value this as a meaningful contribution to this whole thing, and I will not drive myself into hell by having my single soul perspective.